What do you think about the power level changes? Do you think they should just stop leveling full stop and just have a kind of a different system that they've talked about but not too much in detail? Do you think they should have small increases? What do you think about the power level? That's also a big talking point. A lot of people want to see changes. A lot of people just say flat out, just stop the power leveling and just there's no need to have this arbitrary number going up. What do you think about that?
I think power leveling should still be in the game, but on a thing of you do it once throughout your entire career and then it's kind of over, you know? I think that having that be the state of where it is and then having that power be a thing where you can refer to it and say, okay, a GM is 25 levels under the main power cap or something.
Yeah, that's a good system.
Or contest is minus 20, you know? Have it be there only in that sense, and I think you're all good. You know, make the grind to pinnacle only be once, and then do what Bungie has been doing, which is to create, instead of a vertical system of power, aka numbers just going up, create a greater breadth of power. That's things like, oh, now we have the ability to freeze things with stasis. Now we have different ways of breaking barrier champions' shields and stopping unstoppables. Now we have new things in Strand which allow us to reduce the damage enemy attacks do. Now we have bits where we can suspend them. We have threadlings. We have Ignite and Scorch from Solar. You can use invisibility and weakening and suppressing from Void. All these different bits and pieces which create a wider expression of power that is more of a, in this circumstance, I can solve this puzzle with these pieces from all these different places. And, you know, that's, I think, the better expression of power and difficulty, you know? Because I think it falls into the trap that a lot of games do. I mean, I'm going to pull it out of the hat because it is unfortunately completely correct. But, I mean, take a look at Anthem, right? Yeah, its power numbers and its maths ended up being completely balked anyway because a level 1 weapon did more damage. But at a base, the enemies were all the same mechanically. And the only difference was that when you were playing against them, you know, they would deal more damage and they would take less. And that's not the way that things should be leveled. Like, yeah, of course, you have to have an extent of that because if every Dreg, no matter what difficulty, dies in one shot, it's not quite the same. And if every Dreg takes 80,000 shots to kill you, then yeah, you've got a problem. But at their core, you know, you see different behaviors with things nowadays. Dregs in a Destiny 2 very first campaign playthrough would peek out of cover and retreat a lot. They would run as cowards, and they would be, you know, pretty static as far as enemies are concerned, because that's the kind of player that you're trying to tailor to. Dregs in a GM Nightfall constantly reposition. They have suppressing fire for all the other opponents out there. They're a bulwark, and they throw a lot of grenades, you know, like, that's the differences that you're looking for. You're looking for an enemy that is engaging, and you're looking for different ways you can counter them. And Dreg is a terrible example, but I mean, you know, take a look at a Hive Guardian as another example of that, you know, like supremely useful tools there include suppressor grenades and, you know, the ability to sit there and just deal an amazing amount of burst damage is also very important, something which allows you to make use of your finisher, such as, say, the fragment that makes you go invisible when you finish their ghost. Also very useful. You know, like, these are problems that have build solutions. Doesn't have to be the case every time, but oftentimes there are moments where you have enough keys to this one lock that feels satisfying. Old games and the way that games generally do if they don't have enough depth to them and complexity is, you know, they'll just do that power spike thing and it's, oh, you take more damage and you deal less. And it's just... At that point, you end up with the original Anthem and original Destiny and even original Division. This is a big looter-shooter problem at their very first instance. You know, you just have the bullet sponges, basically. It's just that.
And I'm really looking forward to the Tormentors. They seem like they'll be a step up from the Hive Guardians and definitely, apparently quite an annoying, troublesome enemy, especially when they grab you and the music goes all silent. It seems like a really just, probably the most powerful enemy in the game, the kind of a step up from the champions and the Hive Guardians, and just kind of enemy that doesn't appear too often, but when they do, you'll definitely know about it. And very similar to obviously Rolk and the Disciple, that kind of witness design. But yeah, looking forward to those for sure.
I think as well, it's I can't remember exactly what their move is called. It's called Harvest of something. I think it might actually just be called Grim Harvest or Harvest of Light. But, you know, having them grab you in the first place and then do that massive chunk of damage, maybe even just straight up kill you, is a dynamic that we've never had with an enemy before, you know? There has been boss stomp moments, and, you know, that's terrible as always, but we've never really had a moment where an enemy has been able to remove our agency quite like that, you know? Even when you got frozen by stasis, you could just break out of it. This feels very different. That's a totally new level of challenge. I'm very much looking forward to it on a narrative pace too, because for the longest time we've sat there and we've known the Witness must have forces, especially from within the pyramid itself, and this is the first time we really get to see that. Like, Rolk as a disciple is a whole other level. These are frontline shock troops that are of a totally different caliber, and, you know, comparable power to a Guardian. I really want to see how that builds up. I want to see more enemies like this, assuming they do them correctly, you know?